and 30 cents as a ratio in its lowest term. The first step is to convert this $6 into cents. Now, as you looked at the $1 bills that we had six $1 bill, we had six $1 bill, and you know that 100 cents makes $1. So 100 cents makes $1. Good. So if 100 cents makes $1, then what? 6 times 100 will give us 600 cents. Will make what? $6. So what we have done, we have converted dollars to cents, so keeping them in the same one unit. All right. So we are comparing then 600 cents to 30 cents, and we're asked now to express this ratio in its lowest terms. Now, what you can do, you have to first find the what numbers can go into both of them without leaving a what? Remainder. Now 30 can go into itself one time, so you divide this by 30, you get 1, and you can divide this 600 by 30 and you get what? 20. So the ratio in its lowest term is 20 to 1. So that's the first step. Simple. Make the units the same, so we can convert dollars to cents, and then now we can now find the common factor, the highest common factor, and then now to find the highest common factor, we use the highest common factor to divide both numbers, and then you'll be able to have that. Just in case you don't know how to find the highest common factor. Now, let's find the factors of 30. Now, the factors of 30 is any number when multiplied together will give you what? 30. So 2 times 15 gives you 30. 3 times 10 gives you 30. 1 times 30 also gives you 30. And then we have 5 times 6 gives you what? 30. Alright? So you could list 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, and then 30, and those will be your factors of 30. And you can go ahead now and find factors of 600, and you realize that the highest common factor of 630 would have been 30. So we use the highest common factor to divide both numbers to get the lowest ratio. Now we're at example number 2. Express 3 meters to 175 centimeter as a ratio in its lowest terms. What you could simply do is draw a ruler or anything to represent 3 meter, and draw something to represent 175 centimeter. But once again, pay close attention to the video clip coming after this one. Now note this task that you're given. It says that you are to express 3 meter to 175 centimeter as a ratio in its lowest term. So it is already a ratio, but they want you to express this ratio here in its lowest term. So it means that 3 meters to 175 meters is already a ratio. Now, well, centimeters, sorry. Now the first thing you need to do is to convert meters to centimeters. Or if you want to convert centimeters to meters, you could have done that as well, but make sure that they are the same what unit. Now 100 centimeters is equivalent to 1 meter. Therefore 3 meters would be 300 what centimeters. So now I have that 300 centimeters now to 175 centimeters. So we do the same thing again. We can find the HCF of both these numbers. Good. And then we can now, by finding the HCF, we use the highest common factor to divide both numbers so we can find its lowest what term. So at this stage now we can cancel the units because we're not going to need the units, and then we can go all the way to 300 to 175. Now this becomes our ratio, but we need to express this ratio in its lowest term. So we can once again find the HCF, and you know how to find factors of a number already, and you know what is common, and you know what is the what highest. So the highest common factor of both numbers is 25. So 25 into 175 goes 7 times, and 25 into 300 goes 12 times. Now if you cannot find any factor that is common between both numbers, then it cannot be broken down anymore. Is that clear? So if you cannot find any factor common between both numbers, then this ratio cannot be broken down anymore. So this then it is lowest term. So the idea then about finding lowest, expressing ratios in its lowest term, is to find a factor that is common to both numbers in the ratio, and you use the highest common factor to divide both numbers so that you can find its lowest term. Now it's time to try this question. Express in its simplest form the ratio of 825 grams to 1 kilogram. Now remember, 1,000 grams is equal to 1 kilogram. Int answer 33 to 40, and this should be your answer. If you didn't get this answer, try again. Do not continue to watch this video unless you'd figured out how we got this answer. Now students, remember, following instructions is a wise thing to do. Now we're going to proportional parts. Do you know what this is? Read your worksheet to get your definition. Now example number 1. Now it says $30,000 is to be divided among 2 consultants in the ratio 2 to 3. What is the amount of the smaller share? Now before we go to the video clip, let's look at this. Have you seen this before? Yes, it is a Jamaican $5,000. And we have now what? 5 plus 5, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 25,000, then 26,000, 27,000, 28,000, 29,000, and $30,000. So once again, all I'm simply saying to you is this. If you're given a question, just for you to make the question real to you, draw anything that will represent anything in the question or in the problem that you are familiar with. In other words, you're familiar with money, aren't you? you know what $30,000 is. And you could use $100 if you wish. You could use $500 if you wish. But I have chosen to use $5,000 and $1,000. Now in this picture, you are seeing three persons. You are seeing the businessman. Let's just say that this businessman needed consultant. So he invited two consultants, male and female. And yeah, of course, you could see they're shaking their hands. And obviously, he's pleased about something. And this man is obviously satisfied that he was able to help this businessman. However, the problem is about this. Here is the $30,000 that they have to what? Share between himself and this young lady here. Now, how are they going to share it? They're going to share it using the ratio 2 to 3. Notice now, this is the total number of money that is given to these two consultants to share among themselves using the ratio 2 to 3. But the question is this: how do we do that? Do you know how? Do you want to know how? Well, guess what? Pay close attention to the video clip, and that will show you how to do this. But I really want you to think about it. How much money would he get? How much money would she get? Now we're at proportional parts. You can look at your worksheet and you can read the definition and see what proportional parts are. And then now you can pay attention to how I manage this example, or how I work this example out rather. Now in the picture that you looked at earlier, that we discussed earlier, you saw three individuals. You saw a businessman and you saw a male and a female standing together. And of course, those two persons are our consultants. Now I'm saying to you that when you have a question like this, drawing pictures like what you saw earlier is a good idea to help you to better understand this question. But guess what was the problem? You couldn't see the ratio 2:3 because the ratio is really an abstract concept, which you learned earlier, that a ratio basically we just compare the quantity of two things. Now let's look at the problem. There are some familiar terms that you know in the problem. It is divided. You know what divided means, to divide, right? So you're supposed to look, first thing you're supposed to do then is to look for terms that you're familiar with. And then, okay, divided. Now how many consultants do we have? 2 consultants. And guess what? Something is supposed to be divided among 2 persons, and that is $30,000, which you saw about I think there was $5,000 bill, and you saw also 5 $1,000 bill. So if you add all of them up, you got what? $30,000. Now how are they supposed to share it? They're supposed to share it in what? A ratio of 2/3. But question, what do I mean by that? Now another familiar word is share. Now when you see the word share, what comes to your mind? Share is synonymous to what word? Yes, I heard you. It's part. What other word is it synonymous to? Yes, fraction. So these words all have the same what? Meaning. So you could ask, what is the amount of the smaller part? What is the amount of the smaller fraction? Good. And you know what's a fraction. Now, in order for us to get fraction, parts, and shares, you must divide a what? A whole. So what's the whole in our question here? I gave you a clue a while ago, didn't I? The clue is what? $30,000. The $30,000 is the whole. As you could see when you look at the picture, that the businessman placed the $30,000 on his desk in front of his consultants and says, here is your $30,000. Share it among yourself, 2 to 3. Now, if they were to share it 1 to 1, 1 to 1 suggests that they would get equal amounts. So 1 to 1 suggests that they will get equal amounts. But the point is, 1 to 1 is not the ratio. The ratio is 2 to 3. So it simply means that one got more than the other. One got 2.5 times the other. And we're going to see that. Now, so we're dealing with parts. Good? Now, there are different ways in solving this ratio, and we're going to look at it. But let's look at one of the easy ways that your textbook may have shown you. Now, one way that persons would use is that they would add the numbers in the ratio, and therefore you'd add 2 and 3, and then your answer here would equal to 5. This 2 is 2 parts, and this 3 is 3 parts. Or you could say 2 share or 3 share. So therefore this 5 is 5 parts. Now, to make it even more interesting, if you're dealing with dollars and you're sharing dollars, you could simply put, this is $2 and this is $3, this is $5. But guess what? They are not sharing up $5 now, they're sharing up what? $30,000. So how am I going to know what the smaller share is? Now, if it says smaller share, you use a smaller number. So this is 2 out of 5 parts times the whole, and the whole is $30,000. So you multiply straight across 2 times 30,000, which is equal to $60,000, and 5 times 1 is 5. Then you want to now divide. You want to divide this $60,000 by 5. Now 5 into $60,000, 60,000 is how many? You could use your calculator to find out. So the answer is $12,000, and that would be the smaller share. Now let's note something. The larger share would be what then? The larger share would be 3/5 of $30,000, and then it would be 3 times 30, which is $90,000, and then you would say 5 into $90,000 would ever what? $18,000. And of course you know that you could easily subtract this amount from the whole and you'll get the remainder, which is $18,000. Now I want to show you something. What if they had given you both monies and asked you to find the ratio of each? Then you'd find the highest common factor between both of them, and you'd have gone back to the same ratio, 2 to 3. Do you want me to prove it to you? Now the highest common factor here would have been what? $6,000. So if you divide this 12,000 by 6,000, you'd have gotten 2. If you divide this 18,000 by 6,000, you'd have gotten 3. So in the cases, they normally say that a ratio is stated in its lowest term. So let's summarize our step. First of all, look what is given in the question. They are giving you the whole. Once you see is to be divided, it simply means that this is the total figure. Then now, they've told you how many persons it's supposed to be divided into. So So to find how much the total parts are, the first step was to find the total parts, and the total parts were 2 plus 3 give us 5. So the total number of parts is 5. Then to find what fraction of it represents the lowest term, we use a smaller number. So 2 is a smaller number. So 2 over 5 times 30,000, which is the total, and that gives us $12,000 as our answer. And so I would like for you to do me a favor. If you did not understand this, please call me right now. It's time to try this question. Two lengths are in the ratio 7 to 8. If the first length is 273 meters, what amount is the second length? Think about this, pause your video, and try this question. If you should get the answer wrong, please remember to keep trying until you get the right answer. Do not continue to watch the video unless you get the right answer. You found out how we got that answer before. Following instruction is a wise thing. Did you get this answer? 312 meters. Now we're going to example number 2. It says a sum of money is divided among two friends in the ratio 4 to 11. If the smaller amount is $420, determine the larger amount. Now note, in this case, you are not given the total amount of money. You're only given a part of it, and you're only given the ratio. What were you asked to find? The larger amount. Now, do you recognize this? Yes, $100. How many do we have? $200. How many do we have? $300. And $400. What is missing? The $20 coin. So here, this person, one of the friends, got $420. Yes, what are they doing here? Tell me, what are they doing? Look at the picture carefully and tell us what is happening here. Well, better yet, you could pause the video, write a sentence, and call your teacher and read it to your teacher and tell your teacher what they're doing. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? However, here are two lovely young ladies, and they're obviously sharing some money. Now this young lady, if you count the number of dollars, 1, 2, 3, 4 $100 there, and that is $400. If you notice the $20 coin is closer to this young lady, so it obviously she had given her the $20 coin before, so she's now giving her the rest of the money, $420. Now if you notice that she has some money here, but we are not quite sure how much is it. So that is what we're trying to find out. How much money, one, was shared before. So she took this pile of money from here, but we're not sure how much it was in total. So we want to find two things: the sum of money that was shared, and we also want to find how much she took for herself. Wouldn't you want to know that? But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, students, notice what is happening. These two friends, according to the scenario given, in words, these two friends are sharing money, and they're sharing it in a ratio 4 to 11. It doesn't mean that there are 11 persons. It doesn't mean that there are 4 persons. It simply means that one person's get 4 while the other get 11. Is that clear? So one person may simply get 2 times as much plus 3 more. So 2 4 is 8 plus 3, 11. And that's it. But guess what? To find out the answer to your question, please listen and look at the video clip to come. Here we're looking at another example, but let's first read it together. It says a sum of money is divided among two friends in the ratio 4:11. If the smaller amount is $420, determine the larger amount. So what we're looking for is a larger amount of the larger part. Good? So always remember, part is the key word you need to use, or the larger part. Now, let's look at what you're given. Here it says a sum of money. Now, they could ask you to find the sum of the money. They could ask you to do that. But they didn't. You know how many friends are in the ratio. There are two friends. One got 4 parts and the other got 11 parts. But the total number of parts is what? 15 parts. Now if you find 1 part, you can find 4 parts. You can also find 11 parts. So the best thing to do then is to find 1 part. But you might be saying, how can we do that if we're not given the whole of the total sum of money, or the sum of money rather? Okay, now so you're given those information. It says if the smaller amount is $420, so they gave you the smaller amount, which links to the 4. Good? 4 is a smaller number, smaller part. Now once again, there are different ways that we can do this, and I'm only going to show you one way. You can research and find other ways. Good? Now, we can either do this. You can either add both parts and you get the total number of parts.